should people be worried about these kind of products?
Seed oils are one of the most unhealthy ingredients that we have in foods. And seed oils, the reason they're in the foods is because they're heavily subsidized. They're very, very cheap, but they are associated with all kinds of very, very serious illnesses, including body-wide inflammation.
Right.
Which affects all of our health. It's one of the worst things you can eat, and it's almost impossible to avoid. If you eat any processed food, you're going to be eating seed oil.
Right, and it's interesting, the government subsidizes it. Why would the government want to subsidize something that's going to make people sick, and then in the end, we all end up paying for that in terms of healthcare costs, which are skyrocketing?
Yeah, because that is a direct result of corruption.
So great. Make the public aware. Do more of this. But on the other hand, I have heard him speak out and say, well, let's give people a choice. Okay. So you have people being poisoned, which not only affects their bodies, but also affects their minds. And you expect them to make conscious decisions about things that they don't really have enough information. You just can't come out on one, broadcast and say, yep, seed oils are really bad for you and people are going to stop using, their canola. No, that's not going to happen. They're like, that's cheap. It's the cheapest thing I can find in the supermarket. How can I do this? You need to have ways that it can be done. So if this person who's been eating this way for all their lives lacks critical thinking skills, they're not going to be able to choose something that's healthy for them over something that's unhealthy but cheaper, because most likely they can't afford the more expensive food. And you're going to still give them the right to make choices. Yes, everybody has a right to make a choice. I get that. But I think we need to go back and look at the fact 200 years ago, around when, our nation was early in its beginnings, all food was organic. There weren't any processed foods. So people didn't have to make a choice. And people come back with, but they died so much younger. Well, you know why? Because they're working on the farm and they got their arm cut in the combine, or they're trying to have a baby and there's complication and there's no hospital or there's no doctor or nurse nearby to help. It's not because they ate poorly. It's because their lives were harder and they struggled to get, to make a living. Our lives are much easier by all the conveniences that we have. And yet people are choosing not to support their own bodies by eating foods that will help them.